So this flora is definitely not native to Michigan. Each December, Philip and I make a pilgrimage to Florida like the classic multi-generational Midwesterners that we are. We had 10 days total, and while the weather started out overcast, windy, and cool, it did turn around and give us some decent sunshine. 3 of the days we went on some excursions, so this week and next week are going to be sharing some of those highlights. On this particular outing, it was the first really sunny day, and so we wanted to pop around the corner to this little park. The Lefis Key Park has about 3/4 of a mile's worth of trails, and we always go early mornings. Usually the birds are pretty active at that time, and they're quite friendly. It's an easy jaunt with lots of boardwalks and some nice views of the ICW.
And then over here, right there, is a boat that's listed. Looks like it's sitting on the bottom.
Now, directly after starting the car, Philip looked at me and said, "Ready to go back?" And that is the exact moment where our gentle morning stroll took a turn. I asked if we could go back to the park that had the pine trees and the tortoise, so we drove over to Perico Preserve.
Heather, this is Park 2, so you know.
Now, these places are only minutes apart, but while Lefis is all mangroves and water, Perico has pines, cactus, and tortoise. Tortoises? Tortai? Whatever. We only saw pelicans and those little geckos. But as we reached the back of Perico Preserve, we found a trail that we didn't remember, and naturally we took it. So that's exactly how our morning went, from a mile or two and then back to the condo to relax, to a 7-mile hike and a very late lunch. That little trail connects Perico with Robinson Park, and we had never been to Robinson Park. There are miles of trails, lots of wildlife, lots of open space. There's paved trails, manicured trails, and trails that are barely used. I wish that we had gotten some more footage, but we were a little bit distracted. The first part of Robinson Park was this paved path with water and mangroves on the sides, and there was quite a few people biking along it. It was pretty and shady like Lefis Key, and then it really opened up. For a while, we followed a relatively straight and fairly boring path that looked kind of like this, and at the end of it we found a nice little trail that was pretty overgrown and didn't look like it was used very much, so obviously we had to take it. It was pretty wet with how high the water was earlier this week due to the amount of rain that we had gotten, and our little barefoot style shoes ensured that we had wet socks pretty quickly. There wasn't any spectacular views along the way, but it was really fun to walk down this trail.
Oh, I'd hate to come here at high tide. Part of a dead horseshoe crab.
On our way back, we took a different route. There was a trail labeled the Nest Trail, and it had a notation for the Mosaic Nest and Canopy Zone. That certainly caught our eye, and while we were footsore and I had missed my mid-morning snack, I could not have been happier with our diversion. I think this is the best sign Philip has seen all week. Unfortunately, we didn't get a ton of footage because there were children all over this absolutely massive play area.
Heather's gonna get her inner child on and go down the slide. I'm taking the stairs.
Jesus, I haven't done a slide in a minute. I'm gonna die. Scoot, scoot, scoot. That's perfect. I hope that's chocolate. Robinson Preserve has beautiful picnic areas, kayak launches, and with restoration work currently in progress, soon it is just going to be absolutely full of wildlife and beautiful plants. After the canopy zone, it was time to go back through Perico Preserve and find our car, but going out on little excursions like this just makes us so much more excited to get out sailing and exploring again. I'm being left behind. While we were there, it was quite windy, and this did give Philip a chance to get some surfing in. The difference between saltwater and freshwater surfing is deceptively tricky. Between the buoyancy change and the slower but more powerful waves, it can get a little bit difficult. Later in the week, the weather warmed up and we took a road trip on our road trip for some additional hiking with alligators, and we kayaked around some sailboats that seemed to be some unfortunate victims of a hurricane. But more on that next week.